In a forgotten corner of rural West Virginia, where the hills rolled endlessly and cell service was more rumor than reality, lived a girl named Emily Carter. Emily was 16, with frayed sneakers and a backpack held together by duct tape. Her family's trailer sat on a dirt road, surrounded by rusted cars and dreams that had long since faded. Her mom worked double shifts at a diner, and her dad, when he wasn't laid off from the coal mines, spent his days nursing a ball. Money was so tight that some nights, dinner was just a can of beans split 3 ways. Emily's life was tough, but inside her burned a spark. Nobody could see a dream to break free, to build something bigger than the world she'd been born into. Emily wanted to be a coder, not just someone who tinkered with apps, but a software engineer who could create tools to change lives. She'd read about Silicon Valley, about kids her age building startups that made millions, and she thought, why not me? But in her town of Colwood, dreams like that were met with laughter. The school's only computer lab had machines so old they groaned louder than the students. Most folks told Emily to aim low or maybe get a job at the gas station or the Dollar General. Coding's for rich kids in California, her guidance counselor said. Stick to something practical, like waitressing. Her classmates were harsher. You, a programmer, they'd sneer. You can't even afford Wi-Fi. Their words stung, like gravel kicked up on a back road. Emily's confidence wavered, but deep down, she refused to believe her future was chained to her present. She'd lie awake at night, staring at the trailer's cracked ceiling, imagining a life where she could buy her mom a real house, where her dad could retire, where she could prove everyone wrong. One chilly autumn evening, Emily sat by the creek behind her trailer, skipping stones and feeling the weight of her doubts. The sun dipped low, painting the sky orange, when an old pickup truck rattled up the road. Out stepped Miss Clara, the town's retired librarian, a woman with silver hair and eyes that seemed to see right through you. Clara had run the library for 40 years, and though it was now just a dusty room in the community center, she still carried herself like she held the keys to the world's knowledge. Why the long face, Emily? Clara asked, settling on a rock nearby. Emily sighed, tossing another stone. Everyone says I'm wasting my time dreaming about coding. They say a girl like me, from a place like this, can't do anything big. I've got no money, no computer, no nothing. Clara chuckled softly, pulling a small, cracked hand mirror from her bag. She handed it to Emily. Look in here, what do you see? Emily frowned but obeyed. Just me, a tired, broke girl from Colwood. Look closer, Clara said, tasked the tired eyes. What's hiding there? Emily stared harder. For a moment, she saw something, a flicker of determination, a quiet strength she hadn't noticed before. It was like a fire, small but fierce, refusing to go out. That, Clara said, tapping the mirror, is your spark. Most people let the world snuff it out. They listen to the naysayers, the doubters, the ones who say you're not enough. But if you guard that spark, if you feed it with grit and focus, it'll light your way, no matter how dark things get. She leaned closer. The world will try to cover your mirror with dust, poverty, fear, other people's small thinking, but you keep wiping it clean with your actions. Never stop seeing who you really are. Emily clutched the mirror, Clara's words sinking deep. For the first time in months, she felt like her dream wasn't just a fantasy. It was a map, and she could follow it. From that day, Emily decided to act. She didn't have a computer, but she had a library card. The community center's library was tiny, with flickering lights and a single outdated PC that crashed every hour. But it had books, old programming manuals, some from the 90s, with dog-eared pages and faded covers. Emily devoured them, starting with a book on Python. She'd spend hours scribbling notes in a spiral notebook, teaching herself variables, loops, and functions. When the library's PC was free, she'd practice typing code, wincing every time the screen froze. Her mom noticed the change. "You're up late again," she'd say, worried, as Emily hunched over her notebook under a dim flashlight. "You need sleep, honey. I'm building something." "Mom," Emily would reply. "Something that'll get us out of here." School wasn't much help. The computer science class was a joke, taught by a football coach who knew less about coding than Emily did. Her classmates still mocked her, calling her geek girl and taping loser signs to her locker. But Emily remembered Clara's mirror. She'd picture that spark in her eyes and keep going. To afford supplies, Emily took a job washing dishes at the diner where her mom worked. Degrees Santeed were brutal, but every dollar went toward her goal. After 6 months, she saved enough to buy a used laptop from a pawn shop, a clunky thing with a cracked screen, but it ran. She installed free coding software and spent nights watching YouTube tutorials, piecing together lessons on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Her first project was a simple website for the diner, with a menu and hours. The owner was so impressed he paid her $50, a fortune to Emily. She reinvested it in online courses from platforms like Code Academy, learning faster than she thought possible. But life wasn't easy. Her dad's drinking got worse, and her mom's health faltered from exhaustion. Medical bills piled up, and Emily often skipped meals to save money for the family. Some nights, she cried herself to sleep, wondering if the doubters were right. Then came a turning point. Emily stumbled across a flyer at the library for a national coding competition, Code for Change, aimed at high schoolers. The prize was a $10,000 scholarship and a trip to Silicon Valley to pitch an app idea to tech CEOs. Emily's heart raced. This was her shot. The competition required building an app that solved a community problem. Emily thought of Colwood, how kids like her had no access to tech education. She decided to create an app called Learn Easy, a free platform with coding lessons tailored for rural students, using offline features for areas with spotty internet. For 3 months, Emily worked tirelessly. She coded during lunch breaks, after shifts at the diner, and late into the night. She taught herself app development through free resources, debugging errors until her eyes burned. She interviewed local kids to understand their needs, incorporating their feedback into the app. When her laptop crashed, she borrowed the library's PC. When her dad yelled at her to stop wasting time, she tuned him out. Clara's words echoed, "Keep wiping the mirror clean." Submitting the app felt like sending a piece of her soul into the void. Weeks later, an email arrived. Emily was a finalist. Out of thousands of entries, her app had made the top 10. She was invited to San Francisco to present at the Code for Change Summit. The catch, she had to get there herself, and the trip wasn't cheap. Emily's heart sank. Her family couldn't afford a bus ticket, let alone a plane. Desperate, she turned to Clara, who rallied the community. The diner owner donated $100. The librarian passed a hat at church, collecting $200 more. Even Emily's classmates, some of whom had mocked her, chipped in, moved by her determination. With just enough for a round-trip bus ticket and a cheap motel, Emily headed to San Francisco, her first time leaving West Virginia. The summit was overwhelming. The other finalists were from elite schools, with fancy laptops and polished presentations. Emily, in her thrift store jeans and scuffed shoes, felt like an imposter. But when she stepped on stage, clutching her note cards, she thought of Clara's mirror. She spoke from the heart, explaining how Learn Easy could empower kids in places like Colwood, giving them a chance to dream big. The audience, tech executives, investors, and educators sat in stunned silence, then erupted in applause. Emily didn't just win the scholarship. A tech company offered to fund Learn Easy's development, and a nonprofit partnered with her to distribute it to rural schools nationwide. When she returned to Colwood, the town threw a parade, her first taste of being a hero. With the scholarship, Emily enrolled in a computer science program at West Virginia University. She moved her mom into a small but cozy apartment, paid for her dad's rehab, and hired a tutor to help local kids use Learn Easy. Years later, Emily's app reached millions, transforming tech education in underserved areas. She opened a coding academy in Colwood, hiring local teachers and proving that talent isn't confined to big cities. The same people who'd laughed at her now asked for her advice. At 25, Emily was invited to speak at a global tech conference, sharing the stage with the CEOs she'd once read about. Clara, now frail but beaming, attended the event. After Emily's speech, she hugged her and said, "You see, Emily, the world tells small-town kids to think small. But those who dare to think big rewrite their story. You reproof that dreams aren't about where you started, it's about the vision in your heart." Emily never forgot the mirror. She kept it on her desk, a reminder to stay true to her spark. And she made a promise to inspire others the way Clara had inspired her. Hey, friends, if Emily's story lit even a tiny spark in your heart, don't let it fade. You don't need money, connections, or a fancy address to chase your dreams. You just need courage to start. Share this video with someone who needs a push. Hit that like button, subscribe, and join me on this journey of grit and growth. Drop a comment, tell me your dream. Let's build something big together. Your next chapter starts the moment you dare to believe in yourself. Start today.